What to do when your doubles partner's level is technically lower than yours. One of you guys requested me to do a video on this subject, and I think it's a great idea. So in this video, I'm gonna give you a few suggestions when it comes to your attitude, your intention, and your positioning, and the types of strokes that you should be using when you have a situation where one of the players has a higher level technically and the other player has a lower level technically. So the first thing that I want to stress is your intention. Before you go onto the court, you have to understand that you both agreed to play doubles, not singles. The fact that one person has a higher level than the other one doesn't mean that you're going to be overbearing and you're basically going to take over the court and not let the other person play. So yes, if your level is a little or a lot higher than your partner's, there has to be a conversation before you both start the match. Otherwise, neither of you is going to have fun. So before you get started playing, you have to have a serious conversation about what kind of strategy you both are going to have. So these are my suggestions. Number one, you both agree to have a different role, but you both have a role. Both of you are creating something and both of you are playing. A lot of times when I see this situation happening where one player is higher level than the other player, in my opinion, nobody's having fun, because either the higher level player is overbearing the other player and the lower level player feels like a weak link. So since both of you agreed to have a role, the more advanced player will be a more aggressive player, not overbearing. And the lower level player agrees to trust the direction of the higher level player and to feel supported rather than a weaker link. Meaning, you have to do your best to take time to set the point by returning deep and back to the server, not too far cross court, and to be in the lookout for the setup shots that the higher level player is going to create. It is still a combined effort. And if there's something that I want to really drive home, is that it needs to be a combined effort. Both of you need to try to create something so that both of you feel like you're participating. So again, the main advice that I can give you if you are the higher level player is to not discount your partner because his or her level is lower. The main reason why you're playing is because you're creating an experience together. So now that you both have the right attitude and you're thinking as a team, not as a singles player playing in a doubles court, let's talk about positioning. Let's talk about the technical suggestions that I can give you for this situation. So, number one, regardless of whether you're in this situation or not, the middle is the key for doubles. So in terms of positioning for both of you, the middle is still the key in terms of where you want to hit the ball and also where you want to position yourself on the court. That means you want to place yourself in the middle of your half and you want to try to hit to the middle of the side that's open. So let's talk about when your team is serving. When the higher level player is serving and you have a heavy serve, then the lower player should be closer to the net. And the server should serve mostly between the tee and the middle of the service box. In my opinion, at least in the beginning of your service game, you should try to stay away from the corner. You want to try to go there when the score is in your favor. But in the very beginning, try to direct your serves mostly at the returner or closer to the tee, which means that most of the time that ball is going to come right back to the middle, which means you're going to be setting up your partner to be able to finish up the point at the net. So what about the lower level player when the higher level player is serving? So the lower level player should get closer to the net on the first serve. If Again, if that serve is penetrating. Otherwise, that player needs to back up and wait somewhere around the service line. So now let's reverse it. When the lower level player is serving, at least on the first serve, then the higher level player should hang around the service line. And if the serve is really not that penetrating, then you as a higher level player then should consider maybe starting on the baseline. But with the intention that you're gonna try to make your way into the net. You do not want to hang around on the baseline, especially if you are the higher level player. Remember that your role as a higher level player is to be aggressive, to set up the point, to set up your partner so that that person can be a participant of the point and not feel like they are the weaker link. So ideally, you still need to strive to finish the point at the net. So do your best to come up to the net intelligently. That means try to set up the point. You're not supposed to try to come up with winners left and right just because you are the higher level player. You want to try to put pressure on the other team so that both of you can participate. Now, if the lower level player keeps getting lobbed, then he or she should consider backing up to the baseline. And whenever the higher level player sets up the point, then both of you should consider coming up to the net. So you see the pattern. Ideally, doubles is finished and played at the net. So you should do your best to try to make your way into the net. So what about when you guys are returning? If the higher level player is returning and has a penetrating return, then the lower level partner should stay closer to the net. Otherwise, that person should hang around near the tee and both should return as close as possible to the server. Now, when the lower level player is returning, then the higher level player should hang out on the service line. Or if the return is not that penetrating, then the higher level player should really consider starting on the baseline. And again, you need to try to look to set up the point so that you can come into the net. If there's anything that I really want to stress is if you are the higher level player, you don't want to play the entire point from the baseline. You want to try to put some pressure and find a way to come into the net. Now, what about in the middle of the point? My best advice for the higher level player is to become very good at volleying from no man's land, which means to play mostly from the service line. You're going to be the more aggressive player, so you really want to try to practice volleying from no man's land. That means swinging volleys and that means slice volleys. So as a higher level player, you have to accept the fact that you're not going to be able to get really, really close to the net most of the time. I would say most of the time, you're going to find yourself playing from behind the lower level player because you need to be supportive of your partner. So especially in the middle of the point, you want to try to consider staying behind your partner if you are the higher level player so that you can be supportive of that person and you can set that person up, which means your strokes should ideally go back to the middle, somewhere in between the net player and the baseline player so that this person can help. Otherwise, if you keep trying to hit the alleys, you're going to take your player, your partner, out of the picture. My best advice for the lower level player is to only get close to the net when you or your partner put pressure. Otherwise, hang out in front of the service line and no matter what, do not look back to your partner and then look forward because you're going to lose very valuable seconds that are not going to allow you to react as quickly as if you were looking forward the entire time. You can read a lot more stuff by always looking forward and seeing your opponents rather than looking back to your partner and seeing what that person is doing. They're going to do it regardless of whether you look at them or not. And like I mentioned in my last video about the double strategy, which I'm going to link over here, you want to trust what your partner is doing and act as a team. So trust means you wait for that person to do something and then you react to that. So do your best to try to keep your eyes looking forward to read what your opponents are about to do. So in terms of the height of the ball, when you're playing, the more you keep the ball low, the more you're going to protect yourselves, which means you want to really try to consider slicing the ball a lot on both the forehand and the backhand. I created a video earlier about the slice forehand, which I'm going to link over here, and it would be really good for you to go through that video and become very familiar with that stroke, because I believe if you want to be a really good doubles player, you really need to master that forehand slice. Now, in terms of the speed of your strokes, you need to consider that the harder you hit your ball, the less time you're going to have to react to that next ball that's going to come to you. And also, the less time you're going to have to come into the net. So that includes both your serves and your returns. So find a happy medium where you're still putting pressure, but you're not making your life really, really difficult by not giving yourself enough time. So maybe consider taking some pace off the ball and lobbing as much as you can. And I always go back to this. Your attitude is what's going to make or break that experience that you're going to have with that other person. So the more you remain supportive and playing as a team and put everything on the line, the more fun you're going to have. So the last thing you want to do is adopt a weaker position or become overly aggressive. And this applies to both the higher and the lower level player. Attitude is everything. If you give your brain the right intention in the beginning of the match, you're going to have a lot more fun. It is still possible to have fun if that's the situation that you find yourself in. Remember, the whole reason why you're playing tennis is because you want to have fun. Winning is going to happen, losing is going to happen. But if you turn it into something creative, a team effort, then both of you are going to have fun doing what you're doing, regardless of the results. Let me know what you think of these suggestions and if there are any other strategies that you have used in the past when you found yourself in this situation, and let me know how it went.